Hey everyone, Nick here. This is another free sneak peek of our Patreon only bonus podcast, Wild Magic. We release one episode a month. It's a really good time. We talk about anything and everything that's bringing a little magic into our lives. If you are interested, you can head to the Patreon and sign up today. It's not expensive. It's pay what you want. And if you can't swing it, you can always join for free. We drop other free stuff in there all the time. All right, everyone, enjoy this sneak preview of Wild Magic. Yeah,
More like
I think it's super cool.
And on the way. Franco, yeah, what's up?
Rio, that's super cool. Can I ask you, because this is your journey through that has made me super cognizant of this feeling I've had for a while, which is just like, I wish I had the skills to make certain ideas into specific mediums. Like, I really wish I had studied animation at some point in my life.
Yeah.
Just because it's like, what a great skill to have.
Yeah, I'm doing a Skillshare course right now in drawing and pixel art.
Yeah, I mean, it's been
not brought to you by Skillshare.
Not sponsored. Not sponsored.
Not sponsored.
This bonus episode is not sponsored by anyone except you, the patrons.
No,
you guys aren't being paid.
Yeah,
I hear you, Shade.
Shit.
You're supposed to divvy those checks out, bro.
One thing I wanted to ask you though was like, have you ever considered, since you've done all like the design work and at the end of the season you basically have a full game, like do you have any like app making friends, because basically you've done all of the design work on an app?
I'm waiting on Franco to finish his coding classes and then we'll see what happens. That's the closest I got to an app making friend.
Yeah, it's pretty far away. I'm sure I could make you like a Zork-like game using JavaScript or something in the browser, but maybe that's about it.
What has everyone been like watching and consuming right now? Because I feel like I've been all over the map and I've had really bad luck lately, and I want to talk about it.
I've been watching Below Deck.
Really? I feel like this is spreading throughout our friend group.
Well, when I mentioned it, I was really surprised that Jackie had ever watched it. It's so good.
Oh, Jackie loves it.
I watched the Australian one on the flight back from Japan or something like that. And then I was like, wow, this show is amazing. And then I talked to my friend Michael, and he was like, oh yeah, you have to start from the beginning. And so there's like, actually I made a little list. This is really kind of embarrassing. I made a list of all of the seasons and I've been marking them off because there are different versions of the show, right? Okay, so there's Below Deck, there's Below Deck Mediterranean. So Below Deck is set in the Caribbean, except for this past season, which was in Tahiti because of the hurricanes. This is 2018, I think. Below Deck Sailing, I haven't got to that one yet. Below Deck Down Under, or Under, Below Deck Adventure, and I think that's it. And so all of these seasons happen like in sequence, right? And so like I'm trying to go through it in airing order. So like when they air rather than like going through each show at once. So that's why I needed an organized list. Organized lists is really the way to go. Let me pitch you Below Deck.
Okay, hit us with it.
Okay, it's a reality show about a crew on a mega yacht. And so it's like a very expensive trip, and they are taking these charter guests on like a 2 or 3 day trip around or whatever, around one of these like beautiful areas in the world. And it's basically about all of their drama and fighting and petty bullshit. And then also all of the incredibly dangerous things that can happen while you are sailing around on a ship or motoring around on the ship. Because in this past season, a guy went overboard. One of the deck crew, he was, it was rough. And you'll just have to watch the season. You'll just have to watch the season to find out what happened.
Wow,
I have a quick question about the whole thing. Do the chartered guests do they want to be on a reality show? Because I feel like if I was super rich and I
think they partially do.
They do? Okay. Because I was
they must a little bit.
They don't surprise them with it, I'm sure.
If you want to, go ahead. Yeah, please.
Can I look?
I can't wait for this.
I'm gonna be as
I can't wait for this.
Nice as I can.
That's usually pretty nice.
The charter guests are exactly the people that are on.
Oh, I thought you were gonna
be
like cagey about judging me for watching reality TV.
No, no. Watch whatever you want, folks. I mean, it's not not for me, but
why are you being cagey about insulting rich people? Yeah, they all suck.
That's fine.
They all suck.
No,
yeah, they're all.
They all suck. They all suck. I mean, like
you've seen it.
Yeah, it's just like I feel bad. Yeah, of course, it's good. I mean, like I've enjoyed the bits and pieces that I've watched. Jackie has watched most or all of it at this point, and for me, because I work not with those kinds of ships, but I work.
Does it match up with your experience?
And, hospitality in general, yeah, Jake, absolutely. I mean,
I have a bone to pick with you.
Yeah, please.
Actually, and the organization that you represent.
Which one?
Because every time I listen to my podcasts now, I sit through like 3 ads by your company, and I'm like, Shade, why are you doing this to me?
Well, you know the bone you're going to be picking. You could talk about it after this word from our sponsor. No, I'm just kidding.
It's very good.
Classic Shade cliffhanger.
They're really sponsoring me by paying me actual money.
Sorry, I just want to. Sorry, go ahead, Rio. Is this on topic? Because I was going to go a little bit off topic.
Yeah,
it's about commercials.
To talk about like Franco's been watching Below Decks. I've also been in the nautical themed media space.
That sounds terrifying for you.
I've been following this podcast of Did the Titanic Actually Sink?
No. Let me say the thing that I was going to say. Do you guys get commercials in Spanish?
Yes, I do.
Okay, great. I was like, oh
but
my God, what is
very
happening?
Specific podcasts.
I keep in mind that the algorithm or the whatever's going on is definitely it's picking up on the fact that
I guess you guys speak Spanish too, right?
Yeah,
it's monitoring you.
Also, Rio, we are definitely coming. I see you looking a little disappointed that we didn't dive.
We're coming back to that, Rio.
Yeah, we need to finish this.
That's a longer discussion.
Okay, but let me get back to Below Deck a little bit. So God, I forgot what I was going to say. So it's really good. If you want to be sold on it, I will tell you that the very first episode, the charter guests that come on, if you don't care about spoilers, it's a great episode. It's the very first episode, and I can't believe this happened on the first episode, and neither could the crew. But the charter guests brought a mysterious white powder on board that one of the stewards found, and they had to end the charter, and then it was just like it was a really good episode. I was like, that's the first episode.
This thing is just gonna get better and better.
Yeah, and then apparently the crew thought that the production crew was like fucking with them, and that they had purposely put these people, and it almost ended the entire franchise right there because they were like, whoa, you guys are fucking with us. You brought these guests on board to plant this to create some drama or whatever, and they were like, no, we did not do that.
I have a question for you, Franco, about the crew specifically.
Yes.
One thing that I've always thought about reality shows that are set in some sort of business, like Vanderpump or whatever, is the stuff, because they're just monitoring them all the time. They're gonna have food safety violations, OSHA violations. Someone fell off the freaking ship in Below Deck or whatever. Does the crew seem like they're good at their job and they're doing it well, or is it more just okay, cool? So
some of them, it was a huge just mistake when that guy got pulled overboard. And it was they're basically pretty good at it, and then there are sometimes they are bad at it, and sometimes those people get fired. And there's been fires on board. There's been people who have done creepy shit and have had to be thrown off and stuff like that. And it's all kinds of it's an unsafe work environment, just in terms of
just ships in general are anything, any small accident could be catastrophic. They don't let anyone who doesn't know, but you can't avoid these emergencies, because just being out in the ocean with everything so compacted, it's like it's going to happen.
Like the machinery is like insane, you know, like the anchors and stuff, like just there's lines being like flipped around and like just getting dragged into the water. And there was one time when these people like weren't wearing the little like safety button cords that attach to the jet skis. And they fell off of the jet ski, and the jet ski kept going because they weren't wearing that thing. Because usually when it pulls off, it turns off the jet ski.
It's like a treadmill, right?
Like a treadmill, exactly, yeah. And the jet ski was just going 80, 90 miles an hour all around the area, and they were like, "You guys need to get out of the water now, or your head's gonna come off because this jet ski's gonna."
Like that's essentially a missile that's flying around.
It's crazy dangerous.
Yeah.
Speaking of danger at sea,
I was gonna say,
oh boy,
yeah,
Rio. So
start yelling at each other
before we all jump at you about this. Is it pro conspiracy theory?
This joke
is this
that you're doing.
Is this pro conspiracy? Like, is the podcast like this is real, or is it more like this is silly?
The podcast is two comedians, though.
It's a comedy podcast.
Wait, but actually, why don't we're gonna go clean slate. Rio, introduce this from the top. Topic, name.
Yeah, what's the Titanic?
What is it?
Okay, so it's a podcast hosted by Carlo Ritchie and Tim Batt, comedians from Australia and New Zealand, respectively. And it's about the conspiracy that the Titanic was replaced by its sister ship, the Olympic, in part of an insurance scam to make money back from an accident that the Olympic had been in. So it was like, here's what they were trying to do. This iceberg was never supposed to be there. It was a freak accident piled on top of a insurance scam that created this like much larger catastrophe. Here's 6 episodes proving that conspiracy. And then at the end of each episode, they bring on a comedian and they ask them, are you convinced at this point? And comedians are like, no. And then some comedians are like, it's would a bunch of rich people do a thing that would cost 1,500 people their lives? Yeah, probably.
Could you tell me exactly what their intention was with this, like with the supposed insurance scam?
Yeah, I'll give you a brief overview. So, the Titanic was a disaster in 1912. April.
Yeah, I like how you like know all this stuff right now because you've been listening to a podcast about it. It's like
in the year previous, the Olympic, and now these ships are all being designed off the exact same like blueprint. Yeah, they're identical ships. The Olympic, the Titanic, and then after the Titanic gets built, it's going to be
the Santa Maria, right?
So, in why the Olympic is going down a narrow.
That was a stupid joke.
You laughed, motherfucker.
I was trying to just blow past it.
That's a blow past joke. That's a blow past joke.
That's a blow past joke. So anyway, the Olympic got into a collision with the Hawk, a British naval vessel. And there was a lawsuit. The White Line shipbuilders lost the court battle. So they had to pay the court costs for them and the British Navy, and they had to repair one of the largest passenger liners at the time, as well as the repairs on a naval warship. So they're like, we have no money.
So they did repair it.
So they had to pay for all the repairs. So the Olympic had to steal parts basically from the still under construction Titanic to get itself back waterworthy. But because they had to do the repairs and delay the Titanic, it's going to take them decades to recoup the losses from that one collision. So the theory is that they,
but so
this is like basically probably the end segment of the episodes, right? Where they're like, so are you convinced? And the people are like,
so I'm just going to say the theory is that they switched the Olympic with the Titanic.
But why would they need to do that?
Because the Olympic is already damaged and broken, and they can't make money off of it because it was at fault. So the plan was to sink the Olympic, get the insurance money for the Titanic, a brand new ship, and then they would have the money back. The Titanic would be in service. The actual Titanic or the Olympic would be in service, brand new, not damaged. They'd have the money back from the Titanic to build another one, and they would recoup their losses quicker over a shorter window of time. So they started a fire in the so-called Titanic, which would have sunk it over about 8 to 12 hours. However, because of the insane moon cycles, the moon at this past year had come closer to Earth than it had ever had in 1,300 years. So, and
it shot its moon laser.
No,
The
this is
Olympic.
I think this part's real.
sci-fi bullshit. The moon was lower. The tides were higher. That is why there were more icebergs in the North Atlantic than there should
it was
have been.
That's true. That was a freak occurrence or whatever. That's not part of it.
So as they're trying to slowly sink the so-called Titanic, it hits this iceberg, which causes it to sink in about 2 hours instead of the 8 to 12 they had planned. So it just turned into an actual disaster. And so the theory is it wasn't the actual Titanic, it was the Olympic. Here's all this proof. And then at the end, they're like, so it's 10% likelihood this is actually true. I was like, it makes a lot of sense. There's a lot of stuff that could be compelling. So it's just it could have happened.
This is the thing I always think of when it comes to these types of stories that come out, or the conspiracy side of whatever event that happens, is we can't get people to do anything. We can't organize anyone to do anything. Can you imagine organizing an entire company to do this and then being and everyone keep your fucking mill shut, especially after so many people died? They would at least one person would be hey, New York Times.
That's one of the popular counter arguments to the conspiracy.
I think that's that's the main argument against any conspiracy theory is just how could you keep this quiet?
And the thing that I'm confused about, apologies, maybe you said this and my mind just smoothed it over somehow. The ship, the Titanic, or sorry, the
Ozempic.
Olympic, thank you.
Lusitania.
Yeah, the Ozempic. So the Olympic was damaged already. So what's up with all the but people died
in the Titanic? Yeah.
So
but not on the Olympic.
Yeah.
Right, on the Titanic, right. But I'm trying to ask how would this conspiracy work with how does it reconcile all the
they
death?
weren't supposed to be dead.
Because
the ship was supposed to sink slowly enough that they would be able to get everybody off.
But I'm not talking about the supposed to. I'm talking about the if the
Sure.
The supposed to is a different thing. Obviously, I get that. But does the conspiracy say the deaths didn't actually happen?
They're just saying it wasn't the Titanic that sank. It was another ship, the Olympic.
And then it was an insurance scam.
Right. But if they did all that, because I don't know that the Olympic was ship sailing worthy at that point. So they would have had to get a bunch of people on a ship that
I think
wasn't in a status.
So the thing that he was saying was that they used the material that they were using to finish the Titanic to fix the Olympic, which I think is also kind of that's another thing I'd want to touch on is why would they do that instead of just running the real Titanic and then doing the engine fire scam on the Titanic instead?
Can I tell you guys my favorite
because it's
Titanic
I don't know,
anecdote?
it's just go ahead.
My favorite piece of information, actually there's two and they're both around James Cameron, but this one's my favorite, I think, which is that when he went down in his submersible and actually got to see the Titanic and he was down there doing his documentary bullshit, when he came up, someone pulled him aside and was I don't know how to tell you this, but and it was September 11th 2001.
Whoa, okay.
So he found out about September 11th when he came back. He's guys, I have so much to tell you, and someone's hey man, we actually have something to tell you as well.
Now's not the time.
Yeah, anytime this kind of stuff happens, it just like I really love it. I love it when like, you know, astronauts come back and they're like, what has been happening? I think it's like so interesting to have that we have this like little glimpse into the world before like the printing press, I guess.
Oh yeah. Well, that was like that one reality show house that was filming when the pandemic first started, and everyone was like, "Do we tell them?"
Yeah,
I did not know anything about that.
In like a house, yeah.
Yeah. They had one of those reality shows like Big Brother or something. I'm not sure if that was the one. Not a sponsored podcast. Where they had everyone sort of sealed off to like play the game, and then like the pandemic happened, and they're like, okay, well they're all basically quarantined. Do we tell them about this big, or do we wait for the game to finish and tell them when
and a producer is like, don't tell them.
What about like their families and friends and shit? Like, what the hell? That's insane.
Yeah, because they were already like they had made the decision to not. Jada had enough of us.
Yeah.
It's fine.
They had made a decision to.
I sometimes just dip out of reality. I'm sorry.
Like, have contact. So it's like, do we break that? I don't know what the decision was. I just know that was a big question at the time.
So weird. Yeah.
I have I want to get back to this Titanic thing. So.
Yeah.
I was trying to be like, hey, we've covered it. Let's move on.
No.
Frank was like, no, there's this one thing.
One more thing. I'm Columboing this. Listen.
One more.
Why would they?
Yeah, thank you.
So, how they would have to get this engine fire started somehow, right? They'd have to get somebody to do a sabotage.
So coal fires were very common at the time.
Right. But they'd have to do that intentionally, and they would have to time it so that there was enough people around to maybe rescue the people on the ship.
Yeah,
you know, like
according to reports, there were about 6 ships around the area. 2 ships, I think they were saying, had no other reason to be there besides potentially rescuing the Titanic, and they just left when like things were getting like really bad. But you'd have to actually like go back and read like they're like, oh, this
I love that these two guys that like these two captains, they were like, our only job was to come and save people from a sinking ship. They see a sinking ship and they're like, I'm fucking out of shit.
Well, they were gonna go to a ship that they had.
The ship is sinking,
and it was like, oh, it's already like, oh, it's going. This is not what we signed up for. Let's get out of here before we get like brought up into the conspiracy. So it's all part of like.
That's crazy. It doesn't make any sense.
Because there are records, and you can look at the court documents. The California was there, and it watched the Titanic sink, and it just did not move to help at all.
Weird.
All right.
And that has something to do with weird radio signals at the same time as well. Yeah. Oh, because this is another thing that is recorded factual. The Titanic. I can't remember what machine it was, but it's an operating telegram system had been broken for 2 days. So you have all of these like, what do you call first class passengers who are like, we need our messages to get to the mainland now. So this operator was under a lot of stress to get all these messages out while the Titanic hit, and so he had asked other ships to turn off their radios, because the closer you are to it, the louder it is. So he's like, I got to send to the mainland, like however many kilometers away. So this ship, 20 kilometers away, it's too loud. I need you to just turn off. I've got 2 days worth of messages. But don't you
think that they, like someone on the ship would be like looking out the window?
They watched the ship. They saw the flares, and there was an inquiry into it. They didn't push too hard. The inquiries did not look for reasons. They looked for scapegoats, and they found them, and then they moved on.
Weird.
So, but again, it's like a 5% chance this is actually true.
Right.
It's gone down by half.
It reminds me of the you guys are gonna know because you're all nerds, and I am not. I just learned about this.
I'm a jock.
Yeah, I'm a super jock, man. But like, there's apparently a ship that basically the crew went missing, and when they boarded the ship because they found it floating, they went around and like the table had just been set for someone to eat. And like,
oh, I've heard about this.
Yeah, and like the whole ship was as though people just like disappeared.
All right, and that is the end of our sneak preview of this episode of Wild Magic. If you are interested in what Rio has to say about the Titanic mystery,
then go on over to our Patreon, patreon.com/tabletop. We talk about so much more after this, and you don't want to miss it. We'll see you over at the Patreon. Bye now.